Hello again. I cannot fail to notice that at least 99% of the people with whom I come into contact have no idea at all what is meant by multiculturalism. Almost without exception, they think it simply means lots of foreigners with different languages, religions, and ways of life coming to live in Europe or North America. Hardly anybody seems to realize that multiculturalism is actually a coherent doctrine that was dreamt up something over 50 years ago. It was, like so many bad ideas, dreamed up by a bunch of academics and intellectuals, of course. When people came to live in Britain and America after the Second World War in the 1950s and 1960s from Asia, Africa, South America, and so on, it was assumed as a matter of course that those folk should learn to be like the people already living here. It was thought wise that they would learn to speak English, behave like their new neighbours, and to adapt to the customs of the country which they had moved to. In Britain, this worked fairly well, with Indians and Caribbeans doing their damnedest to fit in and become British. Very often they succeeded, and older Indians and Jamaicans were often indistinguishable from English people themselves. This made life better and more agreeable for everybody. Then some clever people in America, and those who believed in cultural relativism, began to ask why immigrants should adapt to our lifestyle. Why should they be expected to speak English and dress like us? Why should they try to fit in? Maybe we could instead learn from them, and perhaps some of their culture was better than ours. Why should we take British culture or American culture as our yardstick? Perhaps the best kind of society would be one in which all cultures were equally valued, all languages and religions regarded as being as good as each other. The customs of Fiji or Nigeria afforded as much respect as the customs of America or Britain. This would lead to a pluralist society in which lots and lots of different groups all maintain their own customs and traditions. This then is the idea of multiculturalism, and it is directly opposed to integration. It is this ideology which has caused immigration to create such problems rather than immigration as such. Britain and America have both seen very large waves of immigration in the past, and each time the immigrants did their best to fit in with society, the society to which they were coming, whether Jews from Eastern Europe, Italians, Irish, Poles, or whatever. They preserved their own traditions privately at home, but did their best to become English or American, as the case might be. The trouble has arisen since this idea was abandoned and all immigrants were encouraged to regard their own ways as being just as good as those of Britain and America. Some traditions are manifestly not as desirable as others. Customs such as cannibalism and human sacrifice and so on are not as useful in modern Western society as, say, the custom of waiting in line at bus stops or keeping one's voice down when in the street late at night. There are, despite what those clever sociologists who came up with the idea of multiculturalism might say, hierarchies of customs and traditions, with some better than others. If anybody wishes to know why immigration has made such a mess of the Western world, then they could start by examining the idea of multiculturalism and asking if it might have been better had we stuck to encouraging integration instead.